There's a quiet moment when you find yourself alone, not because you choose to be, but because the people around you just don't seem to understand. It's not loneliness, but a deep sense of being different, almost as if you're from another world, and you start to wonder, could it be that people with few friends possess rare traits that make them uniquely attuned to the world around them? For some empaths, the idea of connecting with others can feel more exhausting than fulfilling. It's not because they lack a desire for connection, but because the emotional energy required can be overwhelming. Society often labels those with fewer friends as antisocial or lacking something, but the reality is far different. Empaths with limited social circles simply experience a higher level of sensitivity to the emotions of others, which makes every interaction feel like an emotional investment. This heightened sensitivity causes them to pick up on subtle emotional cues, like an unspoken tension or an undercurrent of discomfort in a room, which others may miss. The emotional cost of engaging in these situations can feel draining, leaving them mentally and physically exhausted. Imagine going to a social gathering and being unable to escape the emotions of others, even if they aren't directly interacting with you. The weight of those feelings becomes too much to bear. For example, an empath might attend a party where everyone is having fun, but the energy in the room feels off. The overwhelming sadness of one person, the anxiousness of another, these emotions can seep into the empath's own psyche, leaving them emotionally exhausted by the end of the night. They're not avoiding connection because they don't want to be around others. They're protecting themselves from an emotional overload. Ultimately, empaths with few friends are not emotionally disconnected. They're simply selective about their connections. They know the cost of emotional energy, and they choose their interactions carefully to preserve their well-being. Empaths are not incapable of connecting with others. In fact, they're often more attuned to the subtle emotional undercurrents in any situation. This sensitivity, however, can lead them to make intentional decisions about who they allow into their inner circle. They are drawn to people who can provide depth in their relationships rather than surface-level interactions. For example, an empath may attend a social event and find themselves immediately disconnected from people who are just casually chatting about superficial topics. The constant, low-level emotional noise of these interactions quickly drains them. Instead, they may seek out the quiet, introspective individuals at the gathering, those who speak with sincerity and depth. The empath feels an instant connection with these people, even if they haven't spoken much. It's the emotional resonance that draws them in. Being selective doesn't mean they're rejecting people outright. They're simply aware of the emotional cost each relationship carries. By choosing carefully, they protect their emotional energy and avoid interactions that would leave them feeling drained or unsettled. This selectivity is not a sign of weakness, but rather a conscious choice to preserve their well-being. Ultimately, empaths thrive in relationships that allow for genuine emotional exchanges, and they choose to invest their energy in those who reciprocate that depth. Feeling alone does not necessarily equate to being isolated, yet for many empaths, these two feelings are often confused. An empath may feel lonely in a room full of people, not because they are cut off from humanity, but because they're not willing to engage in relationships that require excessive emotional investment or presence. They may choose solitude to protect themselves from emotional drain. The difference between loneliness and isolation can be subtle. For empaths, loneliness doesn't come from a lack of connection. Rather, it stems from a mismatch between their emotional needs and the social interactions around them. They don't feel isolated from the world. They simply feel disconnected from relationships that are too shallow or demanding. Their preference is for emotional alignment, not constant social presence. For instance, an empath might feel disconnected at a family gathering where everyone is talking, but no one is truly listening. The lack of meaningful conversation makes them feel alone, but they're not isolated. They just choose not to participate in relationships that feel emotionally taxing. In this case, Being alone is a choice that allows them to remain emotionally intact. Empaths understand that being alone doesn't mean being disconnected from the world. Rather, it's about protecting their emotional well-being and allowing themselves space to recharge before they engage in relationships that are more aligned with their values and energy. One of the defining traits of empaths is that they do not rush to bond with others. They don't form connections through activities or social events alone, but rather through resonance, shared values, and emotional depth. They are willing to wait for meaningful connections to form rather than forcing superficial interactions. For empaths, relationships built on shared experiences or common interests may initially seem appealing, but they're often short-lived unless there's a deeper emotional connection. They prefer to wait for a bond to grow naturally, and they value authenticity over convenience. The waiting game can sometimes appear as isolation from the outside world, but inside, the empath feels a sense of integrity and patience. Take, for example, an empath who moves to a new city. Rather than rushing to make friends, they take their time, observing and connecting only when they feel a strong emotional resonance with someone. They understand that real connections take time to cultivate, and they are willing to be patient rather than settle for fleeting friendships that would drain them emotionally. In the end, empaths don't force relationships because they understand that true connections are based on emotional depth, not just proximity. They trust the process and allow themselves to form bonds with those who align with their values. It's a common misconception that people with few friends must feel lonely. In fact, many empaths with small social circles don't experience loneliness in the traditional sense. Instead, their sense of solitude is rooted in their internal world and their deep connection with themselves. For these individuals, loneliness is not about a lack of social interaction, but about a lack of meaningful engagement. They don't feel the need for constant external validation because they're already comfortable within themselves. Their solitude is a space where they can reflect, recharge, and maintain emotional balance. In this sense, their sense of solitude is an act of self-care, not an indication of social failure. An example of this might be an empath who enjoys spending weekends alone, reading or engaging in quiet hobbies. While others may interpret this as loneliness, the empath finds comfort and strength in their solitude. They value the time spent nurturing their inner world, which is far more fulfilling than seeking fleeting social approval. Ultimately, people with few friends don't feel lonely because they're connected to their own sense of self. Their solitude is a conscious choice, and they understand the difference between isolation and personal growth. The quietness that many empaths embrace is not about escaping the world, it's about understanding their own inner thoughts and emotions. For empaths, solitude provides an opportunity to process their feelings and protect themselves from the emotional weight of others. It's a space where they can regain clarity and focus. Unlike those who may avoid social situations out of fear or insecurity, empaths choose quietness as a form of self-protection. The world is full of emotional noise, and empaths need time away from that in order to reconnect with themselves. It's not that they don't value social interactions, they just need to safeguard their emotional well-being in a world that often demands too much. For example, an empath might take a walk in nature to clear their mind after a busy week. The quiet surroundings help them process everything they've absorbed emotionally, allowing them to return to the world feeling more centered and balanced. This time alone is not a retreat from the world, but a way of reconnecting with it on their own terms. Empaths who embrace quietness understand that it's not about avoidance, it's about protecting their inner peace. This time allows them to reflect, recharge, and be emotionally ready for the world again. Empaths are highly aware of the emotional cost of their interactions. While they are often eager to help and connect, they know that not all relationships are worth the emotional energy required to sustain them. This understanding leads them to step back from relationships that feel transactional or emotionally draining, preserving their energy for connections that matter. Imagine an empath who is invited to a gathering but feels a strong sense of emotional exhaustion even before attending. They may decide not to go because they understand that the event would require too much emotional labor, either from others or themselves. This doesn't mean they're uninterested in others. It simply means they are discerning about where and how they invest their emotional energy. For instance, an empath might have a close friend who constantly vents about their problems without offering any emotional reciprocity. While the empath is compassionate, they eventually recognize that this dynamic is draining. Rather than continuing to invest in this one-sided relationship, they step back to protect their own emotional health. This is an example of selective engagement, where the empath chooses to preserve their energy rather than feel resentful or depleted. Ultimately, empaths understand that not every connection is worth pursuing. They are discerning about their emotional investments, prioritizing relationships that nourish them rather than deplete them. For those with few friends, the difference between physical proximity and emotional connection is stark. Being close to someone physically doesn't automatically mean there's an emotional bond. Empaths prefer relationships where there is genuine emotional alignment rather than mere presence. An example of this might be someone who has several acquaintances but doesn't feel a deep connection with them. Despite spending time together, the interactions feel hollow or unfulfilling. On the other hand, an empath might share a strong emotional connection with someone they rarely see, and that bond feels more substantial than any number of casual friendships. For empaths, emotional connection is far more meaningful than the physical proximity of a relationship. They understand that true bonds are built on shared experiences, values, and emotional resonance, not just being in the same place at the same time. This awareness allows empaths to form more meaningful relationships, even if their social circles are smaller. They are willing to invest their time and energy in connections that go beyond surface-level interactions, seeking depth over quantity. The final trait that defines empaths with few friends is their ability to be patient and selective in their relationships. They don't rush into friendships because they understand that genuine connections take time to develop. They're not looking for quantity, they're seeking quality. This patience is a form of emotional wisdom that allows them to protect their inner world. For example, an empath might meet a new person who seems interesting, but takes their time in deciding whether or not to pursue a deeper relationship. They observe the person's behavior, energy, and how they interact with others before allowing them into their inner circle. This selectivity ensures that when they do invest their emotional energy, it's in a relationship that aligns with their values and resonates on a deeper level. By prioritizing quality over quantity, empaths ensure that their relationships bring value and nourishment rather than emotional depletion. They understand that true friendships require effort, time, and a mutual understanding of emotional boundaries. This awareness helps them cultivate relationships that are not just fulfilling, but also sustainable. Ultimately, the power of patience and selectivity allows empaths to maintain their inner balance and protect themselves from relationships that might otherwise drain them. The final question for empaths with few friends is, if I had many friends, what would I have to lose about myself? This question gets at the heart of why solitude is often chosen over social connection. For empaths, solitude is not a weakness, but a form of strength and self-restraint. It's a conscious choice to protect their emotional well-being and maintain their inner integrity. Solitude allows empaths to reflect on their thoughts and emotions, making sure they stay true to themselves. It's not about avoiding the world or shutting others out. It's about having the space to process and align their inner world. When empaths choose solitude, they are not rejecting social connections. They are simply ensuring that those connections align with their values and don't compromise their emotional health. For example, an empath might choose a quiet evening at home rather than attending a social event because they understand that the emotional energy required to interact with others would be too draining. This decision is not a rejection of the world, it's an act of self-preservation. Ultimately, the truth about solitude is that it's not about isolation or loneliness, it's about protecting one's emotional integrity. For empaths, solitude is a form of self-restraint that allows them to stay true to themselves while navigating a world that can sometimes be overwhelming. In conclusion, empaths with few or no friends possess qualities that are often misunderstood by others. Their ability to deeply connect with their emotions and the world around them allows them to see things from a unique perspective, making them stronger and more self-aware. While society might view their solitude as a weakness, it's actually a space where they thrive, learning more about themselves and developing an inner strength that most will never experience.